As you can hear, I've got some guests in the studio with me this morning. You're listening to WHAM Wairarapa, and it's 8:05, and it's the 26th of April, and I'm Hayley Gastmeier. We've got Rob Maunsell in the studio. Hi.
Hi.
And Sarah Dill.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in this beautiful morning.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Tell me, Rob, what brings you to Arrow FM?
Well, we wanted to come and have a chat to you. We haven't seen your smiley face for way too long. But anyway, apart from that, we've got a new service that we're setting up, or we have set up in the Wairarapa with Sarah Dill as a music therapy service that's a primary care service linked up to all the other things that go on in the primary care area. And we're very lucky to have her here. She's got a background as a music student in the States with a music degree, a university-trained composition and performance.
That was my minor. My major was music therapy.
And then majoring in music therapy, yeah. So Sarah will talk to you about that. My side of the story is just to welcome her here and say how lucky we are to have her here, and then tell you a little bit about the services.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sarah, music therapy, what exactly is that?
Good question. Well, music therapy is using music intentionally in a planned way for folks or individuals that have a determined need. And we use music to achieve non-musical goals. So often it's working towards reducing anxiety or increasing communication abilities. And we're using music to support achieving those goals. So it's not about being a better singer or being a better player, but it's about using that universal language of music to meet the individuals where they are, to help them to recover and heal and achieve wellness.
Do the clients, I guess, do they have to be musically inclined?
Not at all.
So how would this work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So initially there would be an assessment, similar to any kind of therapeutic exchange, where I would look at what the individual is trying to achieve. And let's say this person was working to increase mobility and use of their arms. So they would want to be reaching high, reaching low, increasing circulation and comfort in their arms. And so what I would use as a therapist is to see their range of motion, what they're capable of doing, and where they want to go. And then I would use, for example, music to figure out what they're motivated by. So maybe they really like the drum, maybe they really like piano, maybe they really like movement and dancing. And so then I would use music to motivate them to increase their movement. So perhaps I would hold a drum, like a frame drum, kind of similar to like a Native American drum, on one side of the patient. And then the patient would grip the mallet. And then we would establish a beat together. And I would encourage them to reach up to hit the drum, low to hit the drum, to the side to hit the drum. So that's not only a physical movement, but there's an entrainment in the rhythm, which helps that patient to bring all parts of their senses on board to achieve that goal.
Wow. What about if anxiety's the issue?
Yeah, it's a good
like
question.
An emotional sort of...
Yep. So in that situation, it's really important when you're working with more mental health type goals is to find the patient preferred music. So the music I would use with you, for example, Hayley, would be different than what I would use with Dr. Rob, and that would be part of the assessment phase. So not only your demographic, but your age, finding the music you like, and then together we use that music to affirm where you're at. So there's this idea that music, happy, joy, let's listen to music and smile. If you're feeling anxious, that's a big jump to ask you to feel something that you're not feeling. So finding that music that helps you feel comfort, feel heard, feel affirmed, begins the conversation in a therapeutic setting where we build a connection. And then we find that music that helps you find relaxation, that helps you find a reduction in stress.
Are you talking to the patient or client and giving them advice and that as you go?
Yes,
Yeah.
and some clients just in any kind of therapeutic situation are maybe more chatty, and that's expressive for them. That's healthy. They like to chat. They like to share. That's part of their process. And some folks like to listen. Some of them would really be just about active music listening and maybe building a playlist. But there definitely would be time in the session where we would check in and see how things are going. But the beautiful thing music therapy also affirms is that there's many different ways to express communication. So there's the nonverbal. In the luxury of being in the hospital, we even get to have people hooked up to heart monitors so we can see, the reduction in blood pressure and in heart rate. But then really as a therapist, learning to read those subtle cues in their affect and in the tension they're holding in their shoulders. And that's all part of the charting towards, is this treatment working for them to reduce their stress?
So interesting. Do you sometimes would it get to the point where the client is making music?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that has its own. There's so many different goals that can be worked on through that. So one of the instrument music making experiences I use in therapy a lot is percussion, because it's such a accessible instrument for people to use. So drum circles would be a way that's done. Handheld percussion, clickers, bells, cabasas, rhythm sticks, where we have either we play music together as a form of communication, or in a group, which can be really powerful to have that group experience, which also leads to creative expression, music exploration. So with kids, a lot of time we'll use the music making process because they're a bit more open. A lot of times we grow out of this idea that we can be musical, but children a lot are more in touch with that. So there's a lot more active music making with kids, but it can also be really powerful when I get a client who's actually already a musician, who has some history, which isn't necessary, but for them, they might be more ready to get more involved in the music making process.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Would you record your therapy sessions?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes when I was working in hospital back in the States, these clients were separated from family, from friends, and their experiences in the hospital with me were very powerful for them. And so in those cases, we would record the sessions, and then they would have a copy of what we experienced, or sometimes we would do songwriting together, and then we would record the song, and they could have that. And sometimes, again, with clients that are working on self-esteem, creative expression, like I've worked with adults with disabilities, they get to take that CD and it's a real sense of pride, and they get to share that with their friends, and they get to revisit the session as well.
Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah. What would an example of a group session be?
Oh, well, they're quite varied, but some of the things that I've done before in a group session.
And who would the group be?
Yeah, so you would have to identify, who the folks would be. But I've done quite a bit of group work, and it's very varied. So this might give you a good example. In rehabilitation, acute rehabilitation in hospital. And so those folks often are recovering from stroke, they're recovering from traumatic brain injury, sometimes they're recovering from cancer treatment, oncology. So it's quite a mix of cognitive ability, physical ability, and it's also really emotionally charged because these people are going through big changes in their lives. And so these groups were quite special in that their family members were also a really important part of their care. So there would be 90-year-olds to 1-year-olds there. One time there was even a dog. I mean, this talk about a group session, like you just, and then the physicians would come and the nurses would come. And so recognizing the great thing about groups is you can really bring people of all levels together and acknowledge it isn't just the individual who needs the therapy. So first of all, groups are so special that way. Like, we're all in this together. Wow, the doctor's here, the dog's here, the baby's here. It's really
there must be healing within itself to see that they're not alone.
It is. And as a therapist, I get excited because I'm just facilitating what they can create, what the group can create. So in those situations, to establish my therapeutic connection with them, I almost always start by sharing a song. So I sing a song topically, which is appropriate, like Lean on Me or Stand by Me or You've Got a Friend, or something that addresses the emotional availability of me and sets the tone for the group. And one of the best ways as a therapist that people can get to know me is through my voice. And so I put that out there, and often there's tears and there's laughter, or there's discomfort. You can kind of, that's my assessment time as well, to see where people are at. And then, so there's that first part of the session, which would be active listening. And then I would move them into maybe a little bit of singing. So some folks are working on vocal goals, speech goals. So I'll do like some call and response. Like, so a lot of times I'll use the song Twist and Shout by the Beatles. Well, shake it up, baby. They go, shake it up, baby. Twist and shout. So that is a natural speech exchange. So that's learning where the rhythm is, the cadence, my turn, your turn, how the language, the conversation within music can start. And it gives them some structure. Like, you know, they know where their part is and they can pick it up quickly, you know, too, if they don't know the song, which is pretty rare, but sometimes people haven't heard that song.
Have you tried Under the Boardwalk?
Yes, that's a good one too. And I get out the triangle and like those fun little instruments, and yeah, and people get motivated by that as well. So then we'll do some singing, then we do active music making, and I pass out drums. And then what I'll do as well is I'll just create a template for them to find their place. I do solos and turn taking within the drum circle, so I give them the opportunity to have a little bit of a highlight, a little spotlight. And then we'll take a break and talk about how that felt. You know, what'd you guys notice? What was your, you know, so we do a little processing. Then we get back into the music again, and then we amp it up. And I go, okay, guys, we're going to sing and we're going to play. And so then we bring together those two different sensory experiences of singing, vocalizing, and then physically. And then I usually end with some relaxation. Maybe if the group is longer and they have movement goals, we'll do some movement. So I'll just get up and do, when the music is high, you reach high. When the music is low, you reach low. And then ending with a relaxation and a check-in, and just letting them know, what did you notice, how did it go, and just get their feedback.
Wow. This is quite unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to become a qualified musical therapist, do you go through you become a therapist, you get all those qualifications, but you're sort of doing music on top of that?
Exactly.
And
it's quite an intense degree. So it's a Bachelor of Science, which in the States is meaning that we have to take statistics, we have to take math, research methods, anatomy and physiology, the clinical aspects of being able to have dialogues with physicians and therapists and understand that aspect of it. And then on top of that, we're taking music classes, so your average track to be a music student, and then the psychology of music therapy and the ideologies.
Wow.
And so it's a pretty full-on practice.
So well-rounded, isn't it? If you just dropped the music and went to being a therapist, you would have sort of an in-depth, another sixth sense or something, wouldn't you? On top of the qualification.
Yeah. And New Zealand similarly has music therapy training at a collegiate level. And then both New Zealand and the States have then a national certification where you have to get registered in New Zealand as a music therapist. And then in the States, it's a board certification, they call it. So then there's an additional sort of licensing on top of it.
Okay, so whereabouts, how if people want to get some music therapy, how do they go about it? And is this new to the region? Yeah. I haven't heard of anything like this.
There hasn't been a music therapist here before.
No. Wow.
So we're running it as out of a private company.
Yep.
Which employs Sarah. We got her here. We got a visa for her.
Nice.
So she's a legitimate immigrant.
You were a Pacific Studios resident, weren't you? That's how you came to New Zealand, wasn't it?
It was the second time I came back, but that's how I actually fell in love with the Wairarapa and got to know the community and got to know Dr. Rob and Yeah, so that was my beginning here, but it was my second time back to New Zealand, really with the intention to travel, but also to network and see if there would be an opportunity to become employed as a music therapist here. So I had that I always had that in the back of my head when I came.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
But you can you can get in touch with us. My email is freshstartmusictherapy@gmail.com. And my cell phone number for our company is 022-340-1728.
And is there, do people just book in the appointment, you'll sort of schedule them in whenever suits both of you sort of thing? There's not a set time or anything like that?
It's whatever works for the client. And
we've been offered the Baptist Church Hall as a workshop area, so we can do one-to-one, or Sarah can do one-to-one work there.
In
or
Masterton?
Group work, on the corner of Reynolds Street and Chapel Street. So Scott, who's the pastor there, overheard a conversation Sarah was having in a coffee bar with someone and butted in and said, I think I might be able to help you.
Oh, I love it.
If you need somewhere to do this work.
Neat.
Yeah.
So that was
Cool.
great. So we've had a few sessions there. It's a lovely space,
Yeah.
a little bit chaotic, being a Kiwi church group.
Yeah.
And they don't always tidy it up. So we have to tidy the place up before we start.
Okay, so you get there a little bit early, just to be safe.
Yeah, and then we've got other places to work. Sarah's in negotiations with Tim Matthews at the hospital to do some regular work there. And Fiora are very keen to have her work there. The library have already had her do workshops. And King Street Artworks are having her work with their community group.
Yep.
So we've got several points of contact now already working.
Have you, from a medical point of view, have you witnessed the outcomes of what Sarah does? Have you observed?
Yes, a little bit, but I'm more familiar with music therapy through working at Hohepa in the Hawke's Bay, where they had a full-time music therapist, but he wasn't so available. His name was Robert Simpson. He's just retired after 30 years working there. He wasn't so available to the wider community. It was much more specialised work with handicapped children and adults.
Yeah.
And some of the staff there. And I've had sessions with him and learned a lot from him. And when I was travelling in Europe, I was a student in a couple of hospitals where they had full-time music therapy departments.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
And I guess it's not really a path that people would naturally go down. You'd have to sort of know about it. Is it a lot more common in other parts of the world? Like, where does New Zealand slot in when it comes to people, utilising it as a means of getting better?
From what I've seen, I was practicing and living in Minnesota, which was a pretty rich spot within the United States for music therapy. We had 2 universities where students were being trained and multiple facilities. And Minnesota is also unique in the States in that it's one of the leading states for healthcare. So they really had their act together. They had a lot of funding and organization for public services, for low-income folks, for people with special needs. And then on the high end, really high, Mayo Clinic is there, the hospital, the research they're doing. So if I'm comparing here to Minnesota is a pretty high up there, really thriving, great research. But regionally, Colorado, Texas, New York, those are the regions in the states that were doing well. But in my opinion, considering the population of New Zealand, I think they're doing very well. I think there's a really already having their national registration set up, multiple universities and centers. I think that they're doing really well and really caring for the professionalism of the practice as well. And I think that they also have a good groundwork to grow. I was actually very encouraged to arrive and to meet Dr. Rob when I was up at MPS, and he knew what music therapy was, and he was passionate about making it happen in the Wairarapa, which was a surprise and a delight. So I think that New Zealand culture also has a bit more intuition about the power of music and the energy of the land. I think it's more natural in this culture, which is a exciting thing because it's it seems to make sense to the culture a bit more, where there's a bit more education, I think, in the States, and a lot of folks that it isn't as intuitive there. But that's just with my 8 years of practice so far, what I've seen.
Yeah.
And we should mention about the Maori culture, which is not our culture. I mean, it's not my culture directly, but music plays such a huge part in their life together. And I'm sure there's a therapeutic element to that. So they put people into their kapahaka groups and their choirs, and they train them. And that's the therapy for them as well, because they come from a background that's perhaps a little bit fraught, or even just how they start out in life as individuals. And it seems to me that the training they have with music and dance actually shapes them as individuals, and they really respect that, which we don't have quite that respect for the power of music in our culture. Musicians are seen to be people who are more artists, perhaps a little bit different, got special gifts, and off they go, and they become musicians, and then they're not like us, they're musicians. You see, there's kind of a separation. I think in the Maori people, it's much more a core part of their way of life.
Lots of other cultures as well, it's like
in
that.
Other cultures too. So we've missed that a little bit, although music's quite strong in schools, varies from school to school. But often young people drop it when they get to university. They don't keep going with music. And possibly there's not been quite the understanding of how it can be used as a therapeutic tool for specific illnesses that people have. It's more longer term illnesses or the result of injury and the long process of recovery. But the key thing is that it helps people become themselves again. If they've lost themselves, which is anxiety, which is chronic pain, chronic dysfunction, they've lost either a part of themselves functionally or a sense of themselves, the music can bring that back. But they are doing it. They've got control of it. It's not like a pill which is artificially doing something which they then become dependent on.
Well, I know that you wanted to listen to some Nina Simone, but we don't have it on hand, so why don't you give us something? Yeah?
Yeah. Let me just make sure I'm tuned up here.
Nice. Exciting.
Yeah, Nina was one of my big inspirations. I was a jazz singer before I went back to school to study music therapy. And I think that's partly why I was so interested in the science behind it as well, because there was just something in the timbre of her voice and in her presence that almost every time I'd listen, I'd get full body goosebumps, tears, and everything kind of seemed to just shift slightly in the world, just like the song, birds flying high, you know how I feel, sun in the sky, you know how I feel, breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah, it's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life, ooh, and I'm feeling good.
Oh, boy. Amazing. I'm going to turn off my microphone. Should I turn yours off too, or you're going to join in?
Did you bring your harmonica?
I didn't know. I wasn't that well organised. I'll leave it to you. She's great.
Let's see, what should we do here? Okay, well, this is an original song that I wrote as probably my own form of music therapy. terrified I tend to be, to stand up and say, look at me. Then one day you came my way, magnified fear tends to be when I open up this part of me. Bone, flesh, skin, I do want to let you in. I do want to. Blood rushes through my veins, and so I know, joy, and I know pain. I do.
Holy moly. Just spine chilling.
Oh, thank you.
So incredible. Thank you so much. What a treat.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Wow. What were you thinking of when you wrote that song?
I was thinking of how do I write a song with a B7 in it? Was my first thought. I usually write. I start with a rhythm, and then the chord progression. This one was written in the first kind of earlier days of my songwriting, when I was really, like I kind of mentioned with Nina Simone, like I was very committed to an authentic expression in my music, because I felt like she was just so brave and so raw, and I just really wanted to express my fear and my weakness, because as often as a healer and as a therapist and just as a performer, we stand up so strong, and there's this idea that, like Rob was saying, musicians are separate and they don't have fear, and they don't, they are strong, and they don't experience these things that the lesser folks who can't get on stage experience. And so I think as a songwriter and a therapist, I wanted to really commit to being as vulnerable as I could. So that song really was about acting strong, but really feeling the fear, but being able to express it and just give space for that too. Being human, really, bone, flesh, skin, just being human.
Just came out so beautifully. Yeah. Far out, guys. Well, I've got I'm glad that I don't have many events to get through today.
Cool.
This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Have you guys got anything else that you wanted to let us know about? Let the listeners know about?
Well, there's a couple of things coming up. One is on Saturday.
Yep.
At my place. It's a house concert. It's open to the public.
Fantastic.
And we've got Janet Muggeridge and Dave Murphy. Janet's from New Plymouth and Dave's from Wellington. Dave's father used to be the vicar at St Matthew's way back. So he's a local boy. Very, very brilliant duo. Janet plays mandolin and sings, and Dave plays fingerpicking and slide guitar, blues guitar, and sings. And they do originals and old classics. And Bob and Kate from Carterton are going to open the show. So that's at my place, 31 Manuka Street on Saturday night,
Cool.
8 o'clock.
Cool.
$15. We're asking $15. But if people can't afford it, we'll probably let you in. It's like $15 is kind of cohort, but we want to be able to pay them something for coming to all the way. And, they're professional musicians, these guys. So that's how that works. And then next Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month, we have Tin Hut Live at the Tin Hut pub down near Featherston.
Mm-hmm.
And we've resurrected music there since the Cross Creek Blues Club closed up, disappeared into the sunset. So we've taken their slot, which was the first Wednesday of the month, and Jeremy Weir and I organise a music night there. And we've got Sully Marks, Kevin Bannister's new band, Highway 1, Nikki King's band, Spank, and then we've got the Rimatuka All-Stars Dixie Swing Band, which is Stefan Brown and Rod Lawrence and Hartley Towsey and a few others, Vic and Dave and a whole bunch of them, and Vaughan on trombone. So they've got a proper swing band, and they're playing for an hour and a quarter.
Awesome.
At the end of the show.
And it's $5 on the door, isn't it?
$5 on the door.
Yeah.
For that,
Yeah, nice. And that's the Tin Hut next Wednesday.
And there's a happy hour.
Oh.
Kate runs a happy hour, a real happy hour. The drinks aren't given away, but they're about $4 or $5 instead of $7 or $8.
Okay,
for an hour.
Yeah.
And there's special meals she puts on, $10 meals for the patrons.
Neat.
So it's coming back to life.
Awesome. Fabulous.
I've got a little thing on Saturday, May 12th.
Yeah.
The Trade Aid Shop on Queen Street, 95 Queen Street, is celebrating World Fair Trade Day, honoring fair trade, and it's benefits for all involved. And from 11 to 3, myself and a few other very talented local musicians, Anthony Baines and Jonash, how do you say his last name? Kolka. Jonash will be bringing an assortment of world instruments and will be performing over there for free. And Hella Kuhn is having a workshop on, what do you call it when you make those little slippers out of wool? Felting, that's it. She'll be doing some felting, and so that'll be happening Saturday, May 12th.
And did you say 11 till 3? Mm-hmm. Cool, I'm just writing this down on my computer. I'll let people know next week.
Great.
And I've got one more event.
Off you go.
Finished?
Yeah, that's what I got.
And that's Richard Gallowitz playing at Aratoy on Friday next week.
Next Friday?
Which is the 4th.
Yeah, I think so. All right then.
And that's the new music initiative at Aratoy called Live at Aratoy.
Oh, wow.
Stefan Brown and Rod Lawrence, who are Troubadour Productions, are hosting Richard. And then Graphia Productions, which are working also with Live at Aratoy, have got Zulu Love coming on May the 25th, another Friday. It's at the end of May. They're an 8-piece band.
Neat. If you just send me an email just to remind me, and I'll make sure I give, let people know about it.
Great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning, both of you. Yeah. I'm not even going to be able to cut to a song, so I'm just going to continue on my way through the events list, and I'll just let you guys see yourself out. Is that all good?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us, Hayley.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Okay. See you.
See you later. Wasn't that a treat? All right, it's 22 minutes to 9 now, and I've got a special market day thing to read out to you from, I got an email from a lady called Kim Apollo, and here we go. She is going to hold a market, or I guess it's like a garage sale really. She's selling all her things, and she's moving to Rwanda, as you do, in May. That's when she's going. She's going to work long-term as a social worker with vulnerable children. She says she has a lot of projects, and she's involved in, for example, sponsoring schooling, supporting people's day-to-day needs, and helping out with microfinances. She's raising money for these projects while also selling all of her belongings at a garage sale market tomorrow. Is it next week? Yeah, next week, the 5th of May. It's going to be at Carrington Park from 8 until 2. So I'll tell you more about that next week, and maybe she'll come in and be our guest. Fantastic. All right, the Heart Foundation's last Wairarapa book sale is happening from today until Sunday. Quality pre-loved books, children's books, magazines, records, CDs, DVDs, jigsaws, white elephants, and all at unbeatable prices. This is the last ever Heart Foundation Wairarapa book sale after 22 years. My question is, why is it the last? All must go. Selected editions at marked prices, half price Saturday and Sunday specials, and EFTPOS available. So head over to the Trust House Recreation Centre on Dixon Street today until Sunday and pick up a bargain, and at the same time be supporting the Heart Foundation, a very worthy cause. Snow White is a performance happening tomorrow at the Carterton Event Centre. Another day dawns in fairyland. Meanwhile, there is some serious badness going on in the kingdom. The nasty queen has just been told by the mirror that she is not the most beautiful in the kingdom anymore, and she wants Snow White lost in the dark, scary woods forever. So that's the gist of it. I'm sure you might be familiar with that one. If you want to get a ticket and go along to this, it's at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and it's also at 11:45 a.m. So there's two shows, $12 to get in, 0800 buy ticks to get your ticket. That's 0800 289 849, and that's a Ticket Tech number, I believe. So you can head on to the Event Finder website, or call that number, or call up the Carterton Event Centre and say you're keen to go. Race the Roic. What is this? This is at Raven Rock, mountain bike park. So this is happening tomorrow from 9 a.m. Raven Rock Mountain Bike Park. I think they've just opened up, have they? Mount Holdsworth Road. I know that there has been one mountain bike park that's just opened up. Pretty exciting for the Wairarapa. Pinball men's 8K, $15 entry. Pinball women's 8K, $15 as well. And the Langlands Loop Kids event, I think, is free. The men's 8km and women's 8km under 18, 8K. What are they saying about that? That just ends mid-sentence. So there's going to be spot prizes and a barbecue. Excuse me, I hope you couldn't hear that. That was just me having a cough. Yes, I think I did switch off just then. So to register for the for tomorrow's cycling event, you can register today by calling Rowan Hoskins. His number, have you got your pen ready, is 027 347 1337. I'll give you that one more time, 027 347 1337, or you can email Rowan with an A, Rowan, at vinemanagers.co.nz. Now, the Beat Kitchen, they are going to be at Tikaranga Vineyard tomorrow from 11 till 4. The Beat Kitchen, they change their menu every day. It's global street food. I've eaten it before, and it's darn good, made with awesome ingredients. They just whip it up. Look, the presentation's always amazing. Even the garnishes are tasty. So I'd recommend that. Tikaranga is in Martinborough. It's a beautiful vineyard with massive trees and a nice deck. You can go there, order a wine, and get some Beat Kitchen food. They serve it up out of their little caravan. So that's tomorrow from 11 till 4. And I think Mayo and Co, they're the dumpling and noodle place that I always rave about. They were meant to be there last week, but unfortunately they had a car accident on their way over from Wellington, and they couldn't be there. I turned up and I was heartbroken that they weren't there, but then I was even more heartbroken to hear they'd been in a car accident. But it was good to know that they actually were all right, and they're going to be at Tikaranga Vineyard on Sunday. Drum, Dance and Sing. This is happening at West Taratahi Hall, Chester Road, Carterton, tomorrow from 9am, and then Sunday from 9:30am. Now, it's for the small group African drum lesson is $25. There's an African drum workshop for $25, and there's an African dance workshop for $20, a women's only group singing for $20, and an individual singing lesson, adult, is $50, and an individual singing lesson for a teenager is $40. So lots of events happening at the West Taratahi Hall, all revolving around drum, dance and singing, African style, this weekend. Now, this woman who's running it, Jennifer, she's an award-winning and highly experienced musician and fully trained teacher. She's passionate about providing opportunities for all to experience the sheer joy of music through accessible music making. Email Jennifer at play@jennifersmusic.co.nz. That's to secure your spot. Now, all of those events that I just read out are at different times during the day, so I would suggest you head on to Event Finder and look up Drum, Dance and Sing. Remember the events tomorrow and the next day in Carterton, Taratahi, and you can head along and book yourself into one of these workshops. Now, the Tin Hut Live, Dr. Rob's already told us about that, so we'll go to the next one. Now, the Hypnotics, these guys are playing at Club Wairarapa next Friday from 7:30. The Hypnotics are one of New Zealand's best cover bands, featuring sensational Kiwi singer Christina Cosile, delivering high-energy performances that pack the dance floor. But that's next week. And I think I've given you everything that's happening this week. Just one reminder, there's the pub quiz happening at the Empire Hotel on Monday from 7 p.m. It happens every week. It's a community quiz. You can head along and you can book your spot on the night. Just get a team and head along to the Empire Hotel on Johnson Street. Get there before 7 so you can be prepared to quiz the night away. All right, just the weekly reminder about the markets happening in the region this weekend. Tomorrow you can head down to Featherston for the fresh produce market that runs from 8 until 2. It's just off State Highway 2, off at Herbert Street, behind the car park for the pharmacy and the baker. Also tomorrow, but in Masterton, there's the Wairarapa Farmers Market happening outside the Farriers Bar and Eatery. It's every Saturday from 9 until 1, rain or shine. Heaps of things to pick up there. Stock your pantries and your fridges. That's on Saturday. On Sunday, we've got the Carterton Farmers Market at Memorial Square. That runs from 9 until 12:45. And there's the car boot sale on Sunday morning on the corner of Chapel and Essex Street. Well, I'll just give you the weather, and then I'll just skedaddle. I do have it. Oh, no, I've got this here. No, we know about that. Now, here we go, an information session on eating disorders. A warm invitation is extended to the interested teachers, parents, caregivers and other members of the public to attend an information session on eating disorders. The guest speaker will be Nikki Wilson, Chair of the Eating Disorder Association of New Zealand, which is a registered charity established by parents and caregivers in 2007. Their workforce are volunteers, all of whom are either parents who have supported their children to recover from an eating disorder or people who have recovered themselves. The Eating Disorder Association receives no government funding and is reliant on the generosity of individuals and the community. They encourage anyone with an interest in finding out more about this problem to attend the evening. There will be an information talk of about 45 minutes, followed by an opportunity to ask questions. This is happening on Wednesday, the 2nd of May, at 6:30 p.m, so that's this coming Wednesday at St Matthew's School Hall, Pownell Street, Masterton, and it's just koha at the door entry. So that's an information session on eating disorders coming up this Wednesday at St Matthew's School Hall in Masterton at 6:30 p.m. All right, what's happening around the Tararua? Around the Tararua district. The 3rd of May, so that must be Monday. Is it Monday 20? No, that's not Monday. Thursday. There's Simply Creative Introductory Course to Floral Art. I'd be into this. This is going to be at 191 High Street, Dannyverk. It's run by, the contact is Linda Barnett. $60 includes some supplied components. The 6-week course is designed for people interested in floral art and who would like to have a go. So if you're keen on this, it's on Tuesdays. No, it's on Thursdays from 9:30 until noon. So it's a 2.5 hour course, and it's $60. Give Linda a call, 06378 8185. And then the following day, next Friday, we've got the Breaker-Uppers at the Tararua, which is the Tararua District's premiere. The Breaker-Uppers is a New Zealand film, I believe. It's $20, and where's it going to be held? Doesn't even say where it's going to be held, but if you want to book your spot, you can text or call Leisha 027 27 32 660. All right, my buddy Rob has just handed me another event. Richard, yes, that's for me to remind people next week. Thank you.
It's not the 4th, it's the 12th.
The 12th, got it. I see. So that's the Richard Gillowitz at Aratoi is actually on the 12th, not the 4th of May. All right. I am going to read you the weather. And then I'm out of here, and I hope everyone has a fabulous day. It's beautiful outside. The situation. A ridge of high pressure recedes to the east of the country, allowing a front to move northwards over the South Island during the day. Now, the Wairarapa regional forecast today, fine apart from evening cloud, northeasterlies about the coast. In Masterton, we're looking at 19, mainly fine, cloud increasing later, northeasterlies developing in the morning. Dannyverk, we've got 17 degrees. Featherston 18 degrees, Wellington 17, Parapara Umu 17, and Palmerston North 19. Looking at Masterton for the rest of the week, or Wairarapa for the rest of the weekend, Tomorrow, overcast with northeasterlies and a few showers south of Masterton. However, rain becoming widespread with a brisk southerly change around midday. We're looking at a high of 16 tomorrow. And then on Sunday, periods of rain, possibly heavy about the ranges and southerlies with a high of 13. So pretty chilly. Oh boy. Get your washing done today. Okay, peeps, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks so much for tuning in. You've been watching WHAM Wairarapa with me, Hayley Gastmeier, on Arrow FM. This show will be broadcast on Wairarapa TV, I think today at various times. So tune in and watch that if you've been listening, and you might want to re-watch it so you can watch the beautiful Sarah Dill play that fantastic song and speak about her profession. Hey Michael, what's going on?
11 o'clock and 5 o'clock today. It'll be on Wairarapa Television.
11 o'clock and 5 o'clock today. Tune in to Wairarapa TV. Awesome. Okay, and remember to like the Facebook page, WHAM Wairarapa, and let me know if you've got events coming up, if you want to be a guest on the show, or if you know of something that I need to know about as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back here in the Arrow FM studio in Masterton next Friday from 8 a.m-ish. Until then, take care, have a great weekend, and have a good one, all right? Ka kite.